If you have ever stood next to a lion, you know how intimidating they are. Theirs is a presence which doesn't exactly fit in the domestic setting, making the story of Christian the lion all the more amazing. Raised by humans and successfully released back into the wild, AnimalWised shares this heartwarming true story which helps us evaluate how we treat wild animals. It's 1969 in the heart of London. Two 25-year-old Australians are strolling through the streets of the city. John Rendell and Anthony Burke pass the globally renowned department store Harrods and spot a rare commodity. In a small space behind the storefront window was an 8-month-old lion cub. Without hesitation, they decided to purchase the animal, not fully realizing what having a lion as a pet would entail. They named him Christian and took him to their apartment in the city. Despite the unusual nature of having a lion as a life companion, they didn't think about the broader implications, specifically the proper place for a wild animal. This story would be unthinkable today. Buying and raising wild animals as pets in urban environments is banned in many places for ethical and safety reasons. In the 60s, the desire to own such a majestic animal overshadowed consideration of its long-term well-being. Was Christian the lion really being treated like a wild animal, or just another companion animal for a human family? Christian's story raises ethical questions about our treatment of wildlife. The 8-month-old lion started out living with the two friends in a small flat where he initially didn't have much room to move around. He was later relocated to the basement of a furniture store owned by John and Anthony that provided more space. The store had more to offer than a regular home, but it was still a facility completely alien to the natural needs of a wild lion. Christian was surrounded by people. Although his keepers provided him with affection and care, the living conditions were not suitable for a lion. As he grew older, space began to become increasingly limited. As with other wild animals, lions need vast territories to move around, explore and hunt, which was impossible in the urban environment. Despite this, John and Anthony tried to meet his needs, taking him for walks in the countryside and giving him an appropriate diet. As a result of spending so much of his formative months around people, Christian developed a very close relationship with his human caretakers. Although exhibiting his wild nature at certain times, the lion was affectionate and playful, giving the perception as more of a domestic animal than a wild creature. As Christian grew up, it became increasingly apparent this was not the case, and life in London was no longer viable. Christian lived in London with John and Anthony from the age of 8 months to about 1.5 years. In terms of size and strength, the lion was already an adult, making it impossible for him to continue living in an urban environment. That's when his keepers decided to look for a more suitable solution. Knowing that Christian could not live as a wild lion in London, they made the brave decision to contact conservationist George Adamson and relocate him to a reserve in Kenya. This action underlines another important point about the urgent need to ensure that wild animals can live in their natural habitat. Christian's story reminds us that animals should not be considered property nor decorations in our homes. They are living beings that have a purpose and a place in their ecosystem. And so Christian was released into the vast African territory where he began to adapt to life in the wild. It took months for him to fully integrate into a pride of wild lions, but his eventual success is a testament to the desire of animals to live in accordance with their nature. In 1971, after a year of wild living, John and Anthony decided to return to Kenya to see Christian. Upon encountering the lion that was already part of the wild, the reunion became a moment of deep reflection. Christian not only recognized them, but ran towards them with palpable affection, hugging them as if time had not passed. This reunion was recorded and broadcast, becoming a symbol of the connection that can exist between humans and animals, but also a reminder of how precious freedom is for a wild animal. Christian spent the rest of his life in the wild, a fate that many animals captured and held in captivity never enjoy. This story invites us to reflect on the impact of captivity on animals, on the decisions we make as a society regarding the treatment of exotic animals, and on the importance of ensuring that each creature lives in their natural habitat where they can develop their full potential as a wild being. Christian's story is touching, but it's also a reminder of our responsibility as human beings to promote animal welfare and conservation. If this story provokes anything in you, you may wonder how we can contribute to a world where wild animals live free and in their natural environment. Christian showed us the power of a bond between humans and nature, but he also leaves a bigger lesson about the importance of respecting the freedom every living being deserves. It's up to us to decide what future we want for wild animals. If you're interested in similar stories about amazing creatures, don't miss the story of Wojtek the bear in the video we share here. Share your thoughts about Christian in the comments, and we'll see you next time.